Welcome to Rhododendron Week. So we've finally reached April, and of course there's lots of rhododendrons in bloom here at the National Botanic Gardens, Kilmacurragh. I've chosen 3 of my personal favourites, and I'm starting with Rhododendron Falconeri, subspecies Exemium. So this particular subspecies was found by Thomas Jonas Boot. He was an English plant collector who was exploring the Bhutan Arunachal Pradesh border and the frontier with northeast India in about 1850. So this is related to Rhododendron falconeri, which is better known, of course, and it's from a little bit further east in places like Sikkim and Nepal. The difference is that it carries tomentum on the upper side of its leaf. And also the fact that when the flowers emerge, they turn a sort of a pink rose shade. So you can see it's covered with these wonderful trusses of sort of golden yellow blooms, but they will gradually transform into pink, and you can see that hint of pink in the upper side of the flower. So unfortunately, rhododendrons and many rhododendrons are under threat in the wild, and this is a threatened species because of deforestation in its native habitat. So unfortunately, deforestation causes hybrid mixes. So you'll get what doesn't occur naturally when forests are felled. You get a lot of species intercrossing. So it means that that eximium doesn't as we see it doesn't exist. Also, when deforestation happens, of course, it causes a massive reduction in the populations of rhododendrons as well. So it is sad that it's under threat. It's in our conservation collections, and I like the name as well. It's Rhododendron falconeri, subspecies Exemium. Eximium meaning excellent, because when you see the newly expanded foliage, it's a little bit early for it in the year, it's covered in this wonderful felt-like tomentum on the upper side, and that's the technical description. So if that's found on the upper side of the leaf, it's tomentum. If it's found on the underside of the leaf, it's ingementum. So tomentum is protecting the plant from high UV rays on the upper side of the leaf, and ingementum simply is acting as a duvet. It's keeping this plant warm over the winter period because it grows in the Bhutan Himalaya and the northeast India, where it grows right up to about 11,000 feet. So it does get very cold in winter. So this is one of my favourites, and I'm going to take you on to show you a rhododendron that we've selected and named here at Kilmacurragh in recent times. Janet Acton was one of the foremost figures in the development of the 19th century garden here at Kilmacurragh. So when she and her brother Thomas began gardening here, when Thomas inherited the estate in 1854, they swept away the previous very formal Dutch park and began to create the wild romantic garden that we see today. That was spurred on, of course, with the help of David Moore and later his son Sir Frederick Moore from the National Botanic Gardens at Glasnevin. It also was really influenced by rhododendron mania, that era of when vast amounts of rhododendrons were coming in from various different parts of the world, from China and from India and so on. So whilst Thomas has had a rhododendron named for him, so rhododendron Thomas Acton was bred by David Moore on our Glasnevin site in Dublin. Janet never was sort of applauded for her work here in the gardens. She never had a plant name for her. So we rectified that in 2020. This is a rhododendron Janet Acton, which we named in her honour, and it had this plant registered with the Royal Horticultural Society in 2020. And it's there to highlight her work here in the garden. Janet was born in 1824. She had died by 1906, and she lies buried not far from here in the Deer Park just behind me, alongside her brother who died 2 years later. It's just beginning to come into flower. It is a glorious plant. It gets these huge trusses, and various different rhododendron authorities who come to visit the garden over time have said that it is one of our own seedlings. It's an arboreum seedling, but it definitely needed a cultivar name, so we were very pleased to name it for Janet Acton. So for my final choice today, I'm looking at Rhododendron Scofulorum. It's a restricted range species from southeast Tibet. So conservation is an important part of our work here at the National Botanic Gardens, Kilmacurragh. This is a species that's threatened in the wild because it's got such a restricted distribution. It was found by an English plant hunter called Captain Frank Kingdon Ward in the Sangpo Gorge in southeast Tibet. So it's endemic to that gorge area of southeast Tibet and nowhere else. It is a wonderful plant. I've seen it myself in the wild in Tibet, and where I saw it was on the banks of the Sangpo River. There it grew with orchid species like Dendrobium nobile, so it is incredible that we can grow it outside here because it is in many places considered a glasshouse species. I love it because it's got this wonderful sort of custard coloured splash in the centre of the corolla. Then if you look on the outside, you've got these lovely rose pink bandings on the outer side of the corolla. Flowers in April, perfectly hardy with us. It is a lovely species. It's incredibly rare in cultivation also. So again, actually this is part of the conservation work. It's part of where we are using Kilmacurragh almost as a nose mark. So that should this plant become rare or extinct in the wild, and we can return it back out to its native habitat again. So I hope you've enjoyed my three choices. Do remember that it is peak season here at the National Botanic Gardens, Kilmacurragh. It's also Rhododendron Week, so I hope you can join us for many of our events. The gardens are awash with colour at the moment, so we hope that you can get down to